bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Share Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
School choice. Sweet-sounding words from sweet-sounding groups like the American Federation for Children. Well, the truth is alarming. These are the people caught marketing private school vouchers to illegal immigrants in Arizona. And they want to do the same in Texas. But Dwayne Burns said no. And that's why they're targeting him in this election. The voucher program they're pushing is a magnet for illegal immigration. Fully qualified to receive these $10,000 vouchers, illegal aliens would go to the front of the line ahead of U.S. citizens. These groups want to replace Dwayne Burns with a rubber stamp, and they've got one in Helen Kerwin. Kerwin has pledged to support this voucher scheme if elected, but we can't let that happen. Dwayne Burns' top priority is border security. He's stopped taxpayer-funded handouts to illegal aliens. And he's endorsed by every law enforcement association in Texas. Political ad paid for by the Dwayne Burns campaign.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Attention all business owners and creative minds. Do you need a unique and personalized touch for your products? Look no further than Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs. We offer custom laser engraving services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts. With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark. You're listening to Joco Community Radio.
Nowhere but Texas. That's where I'll be.
There we go.
Get home, see answers.
Got a Cleveland boy singing to
Who is that?
Chris Himes.
I don't know.
You don't?
I'm not
Tiffany
good at
picked it.
that.
I was shooting for a little Aerosmith or something like that. There we go. Maybe some Stevie Ray. But
Oh, I love me some Stevie Ray.
Hey guys, thanks for being here with us. This is the County Pulse.
The County Pulse.
Absolutely. Got Sarah here hitting the keyboard for us, and good friend Tim Good. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
We're going to be kind of all over the place. Of course, we've got a new elected DA. When do you take over?
January 1st.
Okay. Ooh,
It's a long time.
That's way off. Got a lot of questions on that, but I won't ask them. But anyway, congratulations on that. we want to speak about the early voting started yesterday.
Yes.
And this pitch about you going out and voting is very, very important to me. It ought to be very important to you.
And what are we
Greg
voting
Cooper,
for?
Local.
Local. And we've
City.
got coming up in November, right? Is it a November election this year?
We
for
do
the-
a presidential election. Yeah.
Yes, there you go.
Presidential. I think we've
How
U.S.
can you
Senate. So yeah.
forget that? See where that goes. Greg Cooper on the Texas Transparency Project made a statement one time, and I've said this before. He gets thanked for being a veteran, and if you want to really thank these guys, go vote. This is your responsibility. This is our country.
It's
Our
what they
whole
fought for.
country is built on being able to vote freely. So go get it done. Don't sit on your hands. Let's get started.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm so glad you're here, man. I've seen you at the Waddell trial for
Yes,
a
sir.
while, or Jerry Elder, and we talk about that some. But I want to get started. What I like to do on the first part of the show is, how did you get to Johnson County?
Okay. It's a long road to Johnson County. So I was born and raised in the east side of Fort Worth, and lived there from birth to about 13. Then my parents moved to Arlington, Texas. From there, I went to UTA, got a degree in business. I think I'd always known I wanted to do law school or become a lawyer. It's kind of one of those things I always talked about when I was a kid. They're like, oh, he's going to be a lawyer. He likes to argue or whatever. That's the inception. That's what everybody thinks lawyers do.
What was your dad? Was your dad a lawyer?
He was not. So I think I'm the first lawyer in the family in 4 generations or 5. So my dad was a research and development scientist at Alcon. And then my mom's a therapist, licensed counselor. So the complete opposite direction for those two. So
Why do you want to be a lawyer?
I don't know. So I know one thing in my family is I didn't realize that college was even optional probably till my senior year of high school, because my parents were so pro education. While I was young, I watched my dad get an MBA, doing night school. I watched my mom get her master's. And they always instilled in myself, my brother, my sister, that you're going to go to college and you're going to do something after that. So it probably wasn't until senior year I was like, wait a minute, so there's actually an option. I can stop here at a senior year of high school. But no, I was going to go to college, and they always encouraged to do more than that. And so after I finished college, first let's kind of back up. Most attorneys do a poli-sci degree or political science degree if you're going to go to law school. And I thought, well, I need to be smart, because I knew tons of people at the time that were pre-med or pre-law, whatever. And I was like, what are the chances that all of us are actually going to go on to do our dream vocation, right? So I want to take it in bite size. I was like, if I do become an attorney, I think a business degree would be pretty beneficial. And so I got a business degree instead of poli-sci, because what if I get to the end of college and I go, business is what I want to do? There's no point to have the poli-sci degree, or if I, just stop right there. So I got the end of college. I had a kind of 2 paths. I actually learned I like statistical analysis, so I had a chance to go to master's in that, or I could go to law school. And just kind of sat there and thought about it. I came down to, while I was in college, I learned that I did some retail sales. I sold firearms and high-end equipment to people who do like safaris and things like that. And I learned that I liked helping people with have a specialized knowledge. They'd come in, they'd have the resources to do what they wanted to do, but they didn't have the experience to pick out the products they needed to do what they wanted to do. And I thought, I felt the most joy doing any kind of work I've ever done is when you can help somebody with your specialized knowledge address an issue they have.
That's a great feeling, and just helping people.
It is.
Yeah,
And so
I enjoy that too.
And that was so I think that's what ultimately said, I think I'll be happier practicing law than doing statistical analysis. And so I decided to go to law school.
So where did you meet your wife?
I met her in law school. So I went to Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, and she had been going there for undergrad. And so she went to law school there at the same time I went to law school. My goal was not to date anybody or marry anybody in law school, and that was also her goal. We failed miserably at that.
Isn't that how that works? God said we make plans and God laughs.
Exactly. The other goal I had is I was not going to marry a Yankee. So my wife is from Chicago, and so I knew about her. She's top of our class, and we knew about each other the first year. Second year, we had both moved into an apartment complex off-site, and so her roommate and her were on, I think, floor 1, and me and my roommate were on the top floor. And so we saw more of each other. We kind of started becoming interested in each other, started dating. Now, the first date, I remember saying to her, if this relationship goes anywhere, it's going back to Texas. And she said, sure. Because, she thought the same thing. Like, there's probably nothing going to come out of this tremendously, right? Well, Things got
So apparently she had come to Texas to see your parents or had visited Texas.
not yet. No. This is
And she said okay without coming to.
this is the first date. This is literally the first date. I'm like laying the ultimatum out.
You're
Like,
kind of jumping the gun on her, aren't you?
no, this
Okay.
is date. This is dating with ground rules. We both know because we're both very serious people. So saying, she lays out her ground rules, I lay out mine. So you just kind of lay it out there. So I'm into firearms, motorcycles. So I'm like, these are two things that if these are deal killers for you, you need to let me know. She had some of hers, and so we just kind of laid it out. There's no point to be dating without a purpose. So
Yeah, but the first date.
it's Texas, man.
Hey.
You got to say we're coming back to Texas.
Did you do that?
I mean, I'm
So-
just saying there's not a better way to be.
So
Just
did
be
you,
up front.
before you went out with somebody? Did you have like a
Well, no,
questionnaire
I mean,
that?
No, there's no questionnaire, but
You need to make
I can definitely give you a list of stuff that I'm not gonna do.
Right.
Like, no, sorry, I'm not gonna give that up.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. Let's move on.
So that was the ground rule.
Firearms and oil. Like,
Okay. Mine's firearms and motorcycles. So in Texas. So
yeah.
so we're going back to Texas, and so she's like, sure. So we dated for a year. I went and flew to Chicago, met her dad, asked for her hand in marriage, very traditional. And she was working in DC at the time, so I went up to DC, proposed to her in front of the Lincoln Memorial. She's
Oh,
from the land of
nice.
Yeah,
Lincoln.
that boy, that Nate,
Oh, he is.
that and the Jefferson.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I always said, I'm proposing to you in front of the Lincoln Memorial because one, you're from the land of Lincoln, and two, I'm probably never going to make a whole lot of money in my life. And so on the back of every penny, there's the picture of the place we got engaged.
Oh,
So,
that's cool.
Yeah, sweet, right?
That's a good line.
So from there, and then I remember, I think it's probably 15 minutes after she said, I'll marry you. She goes, oh, we're going back to Texas, aren't we? So that's the full circle. I was
Yeah.
like, I had this built in already. This is what we're going to do. Her plan was to always work in DC, do constitutional law. She's become a true Texan since we've moved here. We've been here for 14, almost 15 years now, both her living back here. So she's hardcore Texan. Her thing, biggest hobby, barbecue. She barbecues briskets, ribs, everything. She smokes everything. That is her thing. The grill is no longer my domain. I have no control.
I'm sorry.
I know it actually benefits me greatly. She's fantastic at it. So that's her thing. And it's fantastic.
What kind of smoker she have?
She had, I can't remember. I just bought it for her, a new one. Was it the Red Tag, I believe? So it's like a different brand, like the Traeger. So
Okay.
we've done the green egg before.
Oh, this is
Uh-huh.
the pellet thing.
Is a pellet thing, yes. sir.
Yeah, I like a pellet grill. It's
It's a little
easy.
cheating. It's
I mean, it's
a
kind of
lot
like
of cheating.
I think it's kind of
You're
like
not sitting around waiting on it, so I guess that's good.
I think it's kind of like the deodorant, the secret deodorant. It says it's made for a man, but pH balanced for a woman.
Mhm.
That's how I feel about a Traeger. Like I can do anything I want to on a Traeger. It's just it's amazing. I can cook salmon on that thing.
Yeah, you can.
It's amazing.
You can do steaks.
Chris is like, oh, this Sarah.
I know,
He never knows what's going to
How
come
did
out
we
of my
get
mouth.
off on the deodorant and barbecue pit?
It's just made for a man,
You
but
say we'll talk about anything. So here we
balance
are.
for me.
I do. That's what makes it fun on here. So. Well, I lost my whole line of thinking on that.
So
You'll get
Deodorant.
it back in a minute.
So your question was, how did they get to Johnson County?
Okay.
So law school, come back to Texas, take the bar. Let me tell you, there's nothing more stressful than when you and your spouse are both taking the same exam, right?
Oof.
Because there's always a chance you're not going to pass.
Yeah.
And then one of you does. And then you get that weird, like, I got to be supportive and happy for you.
Yeah.
But I'm super disappointed for me, or vice versa. Thankfully, we both passed.
That's awesome.
And so what we got out in 2010, so the the legal market was horrible because of the real estate market. I went to law school and my goal was to do transactional real estate law. That was my nerd thing I wanted to do. And so in 2010, I get out and there's no jobs doing that because people who've been doing that for 20 years can't find jobs, right?
Right.
So it kind of led a long kind of journey back to Johnson County. Johnson County, of course, is right next to Tarrant. That's where I grew up. But I went from getting a job doing criminal defense in Tarrant, Dallas, contiguous counties, including Johnson, back in 2010. And then my wife got a job in Austin. So I went down to Austin. We worked there. Then I got a job in Corpus Christi, Texas. We worked there. And then she got a job with the federal government. So we came back up here, and which is the ultimate goal because my parents are here, my sister's here, my brother's here, their families are here. So we came back in 2016 and applied for a job at Johnson County DA's office. I've been here ever since.
So you got a good, well-rounded education of the entire state,
Pretty much. I didn't go to El Paso,
right?
and I didn't go to Harris
Panhandle
County.
or
Yeah.
anything like that.
What
But
did you do with Tarrant?
When in Tarrant, I just did criminal defense. So
Okay.
it wasn't. I didn't work for the Tarrant County DA's office. I did criminal defense in Tarrant and Dallas and contiguous counties. So interesting question people ask. So one, I want to do real estate transactional law. So then I did um, criminal, which is completely opposite. It's the one thing I said I did not want to do in law school. And the other thing on the criminal, I didn't want to defend people. I just didn't see that as being something I wanted to do. I actually found that I enjoyed that more than I thought I would because there's a point to the criminal defense system. And so you get to also, once again, going back to my original reason, you get to help people in a very stressful time of their life, facing a situation they never anticipated, to navigate the waters of that to make sure they can get the best deal and the best outcome of their case. They just don't get railroaded.
I've been watching the Jerry Elder trial.
Mhm,
In
yes,
fact,
sir.
I've seen you there a couple of times and supporting Philip and Lori. You don't understand everything that goes on in there. How many little meetings between the lawyer and the
Mhm.
judge, and okay, send the jury out. Okay, bring the jury back in.
Right, right.
So it's an incredible process, and it's just crossing T's and dotting
Mhm.
I's and making sure everything's done right.
It's one of the, everybody likes true crime dramas, right? And you watch, documentaries. Those are the parts that always get left out because they're super boring, right? But that is really the groundwork and foundation that has to be done for any criminal trial, is all those little sidebar discussions with the judge to make sure, is the law being followed? Both sides get to present their opinions about what should happen, and the judge ultimately rules. But in true crime dramas, we're just going through fun witnesses, cutting into crime scenes. So yeah, watching a trial from beginning to end is different from watching something on like True Crime Network.
So the judge, I want to ask you about. We're going to do this in the second half. I got questions already.
Let's do it.
And I might forget them. So anyway, the judge is a contract judge.
Yes.
She's not a Johnson County judge.
Correct. So Justice Gabriel, I probably get all of her credentials wrong, but I believe she was a district judge in, I believe, Denton County for 20 something years. I know she was on the Court of Appeals for some period of time, and then now she's in retired status. So any judge that's been a district court judge, I believe it's longer than 10 years, can be a senior visiting judge in any county in Texas. And so there's a bunch of those individuals who are no longer actively sitting on a bench, but are eligible to sit on a certain cases based on assignment from a regional district judge. And so I don't know the ins and outs of why she was appointed this case. I worked with her before on some dockets and search warrants. I've been highly always impressed with her.
I was.
So I think having her on the case clears up any kind of complaints, locally about any kind of there being conflicts or anything, though I don't think there are really any conflicts with our judges. But she adds a whole nother element to her experience. So I think she was a fantastic pick.
I was really impressed when she was doing the statements to the jurors.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that really stood out said, the only reason I'm here is make sure the rule of law is followed.
Mm-hmm.
I answer objections. I decide whether yes or no. That's the only reason I'm here, is to keep order and to make sure the law is followed.
Mm-hmm.
And she is very, very impressive. She doesn't rush.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell there's a thought process going on.
Right.
But yeah, I'm impressed with the woman. And it's Judge Gabriel.
Justice Gabriel, yes, sir. If you watch her, I'm also super impressed. She is up on the case law. You can hear the attorneys will mention a case and that case, and she's like, I'm fully aware of that. And you can tell that she knows by the conversation she has after, saying, I'm making my decision based off of this, this, and this. If you're familiar with the case law, she's like running down a checklist of the case in her head. So for a judge to be, as in tuned as she is, I think that's her appellate side. She was the appellate judge before. I think it was the Second Court of Appeals, but she's going through that process up there in real time. And so it's
this is spur of the moment. This
Exactly.
is not. There was one deal they were referencing precedents in another case, and she knew it.
Mm-hmm. She did.
Out of all the precedents that's out there, she knew exactly. And she said, "Well, I don't think that follows this."
Yeah,
and explained. And I was like, "My gosh, I can't remember what I had for breakfast."
Right.
This woman's up there doing that. And this was yesterday. I watched it on, and anybody wants to watch this is on YouTube under the Jerry Elder trial, and it's got the different days. This is actually day 6. I don't know where I guess I missed the first day.
I think
But
you
it's day
may have been
6.
there for the first day. So what you referenced her saying to the jury of her job, I'm not an umpire. So some people reference judges as being umpires. She goes, no, I'm here to make sure the law is followed and make certain decisions. I'm not just calling balls and strikes.
Yes.
So I think you were there for first day. So my understanding of the YouTube is there's going to be day 1, 2, I think maybe 3 was not covered by the media. And so you may miss that. But I think all the other days have been covered by either Fox 4 or somebody else.
So where do we find that at?
Just go to YouTube
Pulling it
and
up.
just search it.
Search what?
Jury Elder, ELDER trial.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
got-
there.
All right.
It's a little gruesome. You got to be careful with what you're seeing, some of this stuff. And it's got to be tough on Philip and Lori Waddell.
I imagine so.
So, but it's good. So, in the second half, we're going to cover this more. In the election, you was bringing up things that you would like to change.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
And I don't know what your priorities are. I know that you'll be part of our task force to stop
Yes, sir.
with Larry Sparks and stuff of that nature. Have you been through the crime center in Fort Worth?
I haven't yet. I've been invited to go, I believe, at the end of this month to go. I know you haven't. Have you talked to me about it?
Yeah.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah. Well, I go to church with a guy that's in that center up there, and it's dealing with all the cameras and things of that nature. But yeah, I went with Larry, and an amazing guy. He's done this over 20 years, and Johnson County has it right. We have it to a point that the cartels would rather do their deals in Tarrant than Johnson County. That don't mean we don't have a drug problem.
We
Everybody
do.
has a drug problem.
Right.
But it is amazing what Sparks and his team does.
They do a fantastic job. And so we'll talk about it more in the second half, but the Stop Task Force is a perfect example of why you need to have specialized officers and a specialized unit to do specialized types of crimes.
Yes. And it's also, I'm big on relationships between the towns in Johnson County.
Yes,
and
sir.
everybody working together. That task force is proof of if we work together, how we can make it fly.
Exactly. So I mean, like you're referencing because there is a certain departmentalization of between Burleson and the sheriff's office and Joshua P.
Absolutely. The communication.
Right. And so, but the task force is the only unit we have currently that seamlessly seems to transition between all those entities to get information and work a case. And I think that's a good example, which we'll talk more about in the second half, about other units that can start doing the same thing.
To kill this time, some of the things that was brought up is the communications, the lack of digital or computers or data and stuff of that nature. How are you going to get that changed?
So the first thing is picking up. So we're talking about digital information. The biggest thing that needs to start is, so each agency is pretty much digitalized on their own. And so they have cases and they have to file them with either the county attorney's office or the DA's office. Now, currently, all the cases are filed on paper. So they print out a packet, and then since they have filed 30, 40 cases a week, they bring a tote of 40 or 30 cases printed out, divided with binders or staplers or whatever, to the DA's office or the county attorney's office. The problem with that is, one, you've got all this paper coming in, and you have to go through all that. Two, it brings officers that have to deliver those things down to Cleveland, Texas. The electronic system, what makes it easy about that is it's more of a sophisticated form of email. They have their case file, they click send, the DA's office or county attorney receives that file. They can quickly go through and say, okay, everything that you need for the case based on the checklist is there. Case is accepted. We'll go for a review process now. If there's not something there, you can say, this is an item you're missing. Like, this is a traffic stop involving DWI. I don't see the body cam or I don't see the dash cam. They often go, oh, I'm sorry. Click, add that on there. It takes 3 seconds to fix versus what we're doing now. Where's the dash cam for this case you're filing right now? I don't have it. They have to go back to the PD, find it, bring a copy down a CD down. It's inefficient. And so I would like to see that change. It's not just me, it's every agency I talk to. And it's not gonna be a mandatory thing. If there's a smaller agency in Johnson County says we can't afford to be involved in the digital system, that's fine. We're not trying to force people into a digital world just because it's slick and fun. We're trying to do something that's more efficient. And also, since we have to provide digital discovery to defense anyway, this eliminates the process because when the documents come in, we scan them into a digital form, and then we give those to defense counsel. So it would eliminate the process. The paper doesn't need to exist unless it does. And in most cases, we don't need to have paper. We just need to have a digital copy of those case reports.
Well, and I also heard just this week, that when Burleson sends something, it's in a PDF, and it's not something that can be transcribed or find. Like right now, we're going to, and I'm not 100% sure on this right now. It's been a while since we talked about it. Like the officers' body cams that's recording audio,
Right.
we can now transcribe that. And so if somebody says, well, your officer said this.
I've heard about that. Yeah, I think you guys recently switched over the Axion system.
Yes, there you go. Thank you very much.
And so my understanding is, yes, Axiom provides as additional benefit is that, like you're saying, it's also great for officers. Imagine you go on a traffic stop, you're on scene for 2 hours.
Yes.
You're going back, you're writing a report. Burleson's fantastic about contemporaneous writing reports. If they can, if there's not another emergency, they go back to the PD and they actually sit down and type out the report. But there's things that you want to make sure in your report. Like I remember him saying something to this effect, but I don't want to just guess. I want to go back and find where the person said in verbatim, say in my report, suspect A or B said this. Well, they would have to skip through the body cam try to figure out where it's at versus the new Axiom program. You type in the keyword, it's going to pull you right to what those keywords are. The officer listens to the audio and says, okay, this is exactly what he said, goes in my report as a quote. It's fantastic. It makes it more efficient. It's less waste of time.
Oh, the time process. Just go to your TV and you want to find a certain part in a movie. And you got to go through here and it's even more tedious than that because you're dealing with just a phrase or if it was just a word, that'd be easy. But typically it's a phrase.
Right.
To find that, I can see that being very, very beneficial. I guess at the DA level, how do you get that? You have to deal with the county judge to get this done, right?
Correct. So for all funding, particularly electronic filing, depending on what program we choose, whether it's tech share or anything else like that, the county is ultimately going to have to find a way to add that to the budget. And I haven't seen our budget at the DA's office yet, or I have to find it somewhere within the budget for that. I don't think we have a technology budget with the DA's office, which is something we need. Kind of shifting also gears to just in the capital trial you've been watching. There's no reason that the prosecutor should be in court having to start and stop a video because the judge says you can only play these 9 minutes from 8 minutes and 32 seconds to whatever.
Yes.
That's something that we all knew was going to be the limitations before. You should be able to go back and use basic editing video software and say, we're going to cut this clip because this is what judge said. So there's not a mistake that happens because as you saw in there, they were hitting mute or fast forwarding. And it is not one for presentation purposes, true crime. You don't see that happening on TV. So as a jury sits there in the box, they go, this is strange. And I've seen that with a lot of stuff we have with juries. Juries expect things to be like they are on TV. Now, we can't always match what's on TV because it's tons of stuff. You get me sitting there watching, go, that's hearsay. You would never have that come in. There's a balancing test of that being too prejudicial. There's a lot of things on those shows that can't come in.
So they got to make like 6 months worth of trial fit into a 1 hour segment.
Exactly. Right. So we can't achieve that. But when there's things that just look like they're done, it's kind of sloppily half done, like just skipping through a video or body cam, we just don't need that kind of look. Because if you're sitting there, you're asking, because beyond a reasonable doubt, what is the legal definition of that? There is none. It goes down to if you're on a jury, you pick, do I feel confident enough that I believe beyond a reasonable doubt that this person's guilty? Well, if what you're watching is not what you expect in a trial, you go, is that my reasonable doubt? Like something feels wrong. Imagine going to a wedding and it just doesn't go like you see your traditional weddings go. You're like, this is just weird, right? The actual ceremony happens. Somebody's legally married. So, but if you were asked to make a decision, this person legally married you, I don't know. It's not
Right.
it's not what
I mean, we didn't do the vows. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
they didn't kiss. Does that mean they didn't get married?
Exactly, right? So, but that's what the jury's being asked. So they're being asked, it's not what you're traditionally used to seeing, but is this?
Yeah.
So I think the more we can give, because that's what it is, it's matching expectations. The same thing with police. With officers, there's a big push against defund the police and stuff like that. I think a lot of that is because communal expectations of officers, either the PDs are not being trained to the level they should be, or the public's not being educated to the level they understand what an officer does. Whoever's fault it is, it's about perception. And so I think a lot of stuff is you say you got to be able to educate people to understand what happens in jury trials, but also meet their perceptions where you can.
Well,
and so
perception is your reality.
Exactly. So we're failing where you're getting up there and skipping through a video because you're watching that and you're going, that just doesn't. I've never seen that. I've watched all these true crime shows that, and now
Right.
I'll tell you, other people don't do. Tarrant County does not do that. Dallas County doesn't do that. They have editing software where they
Right.
just say, "Here's the video."
It makes you look unprepared.
Yeah, and the truth is, I know all three of these prosecutors doing this case, they're super prepared. But exactly the optics on the 1,000-foot level, you look at that, you go, that seems like they just pulled this right out of the rabbit, rabbit out of the hat. And it's not true.
Okay, we're fixing to get into a break here in about 30 seconds, and I want to bring up one of our sponsors, Alpha Omega, Tim Davis.
Yeah,
We definitely appreciate that guy.
absolutely.
Biggest
The
heart
beginning
in
and the
Johnson
end.
County, it sure seems like. He helps out everybody. But he's got a great business. We ask that you go to him and get your bugs and snakes and squirrels and all your
Mice.
problems in life.
Rats.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Big old rats. Tim will take care of you. Thank y'all for being here on the County Pulse.
And we'll be right back in a minute and a half.
Yeah, nowhere but Texas.
Remember Helen Kerwin? As county commissioner, she raised the tax rate over 95%, increased taxes, utility rates, connection fees, and pushed to give the state even more taxing authority. Well, Helen Kerwin's back, handpicked by the Washington swamp to push a voucher scheme that takes funds away from our local schools and gives taxpayer-funded private school vouchers to illegal immigrants. They'd even go to the front of the line ahead of U.S. citizens and legal residents. It's the very same voucher scheme Dwayne Burns stopped last year before delivering the largest tax cut in Texas history, the strongest border security plan in America, and new laws to protect our kids at school and online. Dwayne Burns is the real conservative who puts our community first. He won't be bullied by powerful politicians or D.C. special interest groups because he doesn't work for them. He works for us. Political ad paid for by the Dwayne Burns campaign.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
The voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
Nowhere but Texas. That's where I'll be. Get home's the answer to all my dreams.
Joco Community Radio is a member of EMG, a radio and podcast collective, proudly serving communities like Johnson and Tarrant County, Texas. We are live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network and on our station app. Check out our lineup and more at tuneinjoco.com. We thank our valued we thank our valued partners in helping us amplify the voices of our communities. You heard the commercials. Be sure to connect with Todd Hurd and Associates, attorneys at law. Use code JOCO 2024 for 25% off your first order at thetiffy.com. And join Swipe Nation today and save on your credit card processing at swipenationusa.com, locally owned and operated. And reach out to Tiffany at jo.co@jococommunityradio.com for advertising rates as low as $50 a month.
You do that so much better than I do. I'm saying letters and everything else. You just ripped it off. So
Well,
you did great. Thanks for doing
I made mine ADHD friendly. I got breaks made for
I
my
like that.
brain. And like, I know how my brain works. I got to fix it, got to trick it.
Fair enough.
And we got a great guest today, the new DA, January 1st.
Yes, sir.
Tim, good job. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to the County Pulse.
There you go. And thanks, Tim Davis and Alpha Omega. So we ended the first segment about communications and where that goes and how important it is. We spend so much time digging through piles of words to find something.
Mhm.
And I want to bring this up. We've got the remodeling and the add-on of the police station, and all of this information has to be saved. And
Oh, yeah.
our storage is packed. We got a new facility that's going to be started pretty soon, but this is huge. I was told, and I'll bring up how critical saving this stuff is. That if there's a traffic incident,
Mhm.
we have people that send in videos. Citizens, okay, I'm going to be helpful. I'm going to send in this video. I'm going to send in this video, and all of that has to be saved.
It does, yeah.
But it has to be redacted. All the license plates out there that's driving by that has nothing to do with it
Mm-hmm.
has to be blocked out.
Hmm.
And that just takes tons of time to do that. Then we have to store it in a specific way. So you can realize when we go to a trial like this, how much time and effort is spent to get this thing processed, make sure the innocent's not involved, or attorneys are going to use everything they can for their client.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a big deal. So what we were talking about is processing data,
We were, yeah.
saving data, and making it available when we need it easily. So you're going to get that done. Now tell the process of getting that done. Like financially,
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about, and where I'm at with the city, financially, how do you get that done?
So financially, it's going to be talking. So Commissioner's Court gives the budget to the DA's office. So it's going to be about an exchange between the DA's office and the commissioners to determine what budget we can have. It also involves the DA's office shopping around for vendors, determining what is the best vendor that we can use for that in exchange. So it could be TechShare, which is Tarrant County uses that, but there's a bunch of other vendors out there. So to try to figure out what is the best vendor, and then to get a price from that, and also working with the agencies, that's a big part of it. We can't just select a product that doesn't work with, let's say, Burleson and the sheriff's office. It gets to be seamless. So I think it's going to be a big discussion that may take, a couple months, maybe a year to really get it implemented, because rushing into this and just buying a piece of software, counties are notorious for that. It doesn't matter if you're in Dallas County, you buy this software for millions of dollars, you learn that it doesn't really work for you. So I really like to slow walk that process to make sure we get the right thing.
Okay. So do you have an IT guy? I mean, I know the county has their IT guy.
All right.
Is that who you use to?
It depends how. So yeah, going forward, that's a great question. So there is county IT. Going forward, there may come a time, and maybe soon, that we need to have an IT person for the DA's office, because we're going to switch from being solely paper based to a lot of digital. And then when you do that, there's a lot of ethical rules, even when we do with paper, that we have with digital, of things you have to do to secure that. So having our servers sitting just simply on the county servers would be a violation of ethics, because there's no firewall there that prevents anybody from getting into that.
Mm-hmm.
So there may come a time that we do need to have an IT either full-time or somebody on contract basis to make sure that we have our own servers that are separate from the counties, that somebody can work on that, so they can make sure it's secured and firewalled where it can't be broken into. So yeah, there's probably going to be that approach, probably starting with the contract, and then depending on how the DA's office, it's just going to grow. As the county grows, DA's offices are going to grow. So I imagine eventually you'll have a person hired that'll be IT 24/7 for the DA's office.
I'm talking a little out of turn here, but if the city of Burleson can help you on any of that, and we're already taking communications to each other and stuff, we're going through a process right now that we're getting insurance for ransomware and stuff of that nature. And you have to really jump through hoops to make sure you're not going to get hacked and the insurance company's happy with it.
Right.
Like here recently, we're not allowed to use flash drives anymore.
Okay. Interesting.
That's, yeah. You get something and somebody hands this to you and you stick it in and it goes through the whole system. So we're going through a process, so we're not going to be using flash drives anymore.
Okay.
So,
what are you guys going to use in place of flash drives, if you know?
Email, basically, is what it is. And they have a scrubber that goes through and checks everything that comes through. And then that is our last process to get to the level we want to be at.
Okay. Which means, of course, your email server has to be bigger, because how many times with like your personal email, you can't send an attachment because it's too big.
You're talking to somebody that every bit of that's over my head. but you see the issues that
Mhm.
when Dallas,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, when who was it? Who's the big player that just got hit? AT&T.
yeah, they did.
AT&T had all their files hacked, and this is just Burleson.
Mhm.
We're a decent size, but we're not anything. Those guys, and they got caught. So
Exactly.
everybody's got a situation we have to deal with now.
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, that's one of the fears of moving into the technological space, but because of also the need to do is that balancing, and we got to do that. But there's a lot of things like you're saying that have to be considered, and security is number one in that.
Well, even on the CAD, our CAD board,
Mhm.
where we had no protection on that, and one of the new members brought up the fact, and right after they started the conversation, that's when the Tarrant CAD board got hit.
Ooh. Okay.
So, and they're still living through that. They lost a lot of data on that.
Mhm.
So it's all good. We're small fish. If the big boys are getting hit,
Right. But also, it's a crime of opportunity. So, I mean, you can be targeted. So, if anybody wants to target a particular entity, there's a chance they will defeat your security measures. But some of these people are just fishing around for what is the easiest target. And like you mentioned, the flash drives, that's a common scam you do. Is you leave a flash drive in the middle Burleson Police Department or for the city hall, just a flash drive, and someone picks it up and they plug it in, going, "What could this be?"
it looks innocent.
It looks innocent, then your whole system crashes,
Yeah.
right? And that probably happened all across the Metroplex.
Well, they were saying that some of the flash drives was even being manufactured with it in it,
Mhm.
embedded in it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You buy it from the Walmart, crack open the.
Order
I'm
'em
not
from
going to say
Amazon.
where.
Oh yeah.
Well,
You order them from Amazon, you don't know where you're getting it from.
That's
The
true.
guy in the store, I don't know if you know it. You got the brand name on there.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that's the brand name sometimes.
That's very true.
So when they do that, we're going to call you and have you go after them.
Okay.
DA. So anyway, we got good stuff. There's other situations. I don't know where to go with this. One of the things you talked about was child safety.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a big passion of mine. I did a lot of kid cases when with the DA's office. That's what we call them as kid cases. That's kind of a nicer way to talk about sexual abuse of children.
What was that?
Kid cases.
Kid cases.
Yeah. So I mean, it does encompass like some physical abuse, but predominantly the cases on a felony level you're getting is sexual exploitation, abuse of children. When I'm talking about kids, I'm not under the law goes all the way up to 17, but when I'm talking about kids, generally we're talking about ages 14 down to 6. That's kind of the range we're seeing most of the abuse happen in. And those are very hard crimes to prosecute. One, because most of the time the kids don't immediately outcry. And I can go into a whole litany of why that happens of, the individual who targets a child, they kind of figure out who's the kid that's not going to talk. They probably fished around with different people. Was that I'll do a little something. Does the kid say something to somebody? Move on to somebody else. And so then these kids don't outcry. And also just kind of flip it and think about when you were a kid, the world is so foreign to you, right? The things that happen around you,
You
everything.
don't know that certain things aren't normal.
Exactly. And that's usually when we talk to the kids and go, why didn't you bring this up 3-4 years ago? And the parents are just distraught because they go, I don't know why my daughter or my son hadn't brought this up. And there's a host of reasons. One, we're always taught that adults are the authority figures in our world. And so as a child, you're looking at an adult, whatever they do is gospel. It's okay. Two, there's sometimes threats involved, and it just kind of goes down from there. But it generally the kids don't realize, and I have the times we see them kind of just organically coming forward is when they have some of the sexual education in school, and they talk about in the back end of that sexual abuse, and the kid's like, "Oh my gosh, that's been going on to me for the past 3 years," or they have a friend that says this was happening to me, and you kind of have this chain effect of other kids going, I thought I was the only person, and they kind of
Right.
feel like it's their fault. Like I thought I was the only person this was happening, my uncle or my stepdad or whoever's doing that to. Now back to the kid cases, they're really hard to prosecute for that standpoint because people expect there to be this clean DNA trail. A lot of time these kids, it's been 2 years since they were last abused, but it's been 4 years. And as a prosecutor, I can't just say, well, that's I don't want to prosecute that case because you have a real threat out there. You have someone
Right.
who sexually abused a child, and I don't think there's a chance that someone sexually abusing a child is go, that's my one victim for my life, and I'm
Right.
done.
No, they do
They're
it
going to
again
look
and
for the
again.
next, and so you have to stop somebody. Part of that is creating a team, and so as the I've thought through this. Is the team is going to be kind of modeled off after Stop. Stop does our narcotics, but the team is maybe a special victims unit. I want them to focus on kid cases and then high priority, maybe like murder cases. The Jerry Elders trial is a perfect example why we need a special victims unit, because in that case you have, let's see, we got Burleson PD working investigation that, you have Joshua PD working investigation that, you have the sheriff's office. It would be nice to have a centralized team when something big like that kicks off, that they take command of all the scenes. So there's not this, and you watch the trial, there's gaps in evidence because someone thought, I thought so-and-so did this or did that. And there's also different levels of training, right? You had some really experienced detectives from sheriff's office and from Burleson working their parts. And then there are other smaller agencies. Sometimes they missed things here or there. And it'd be nice to have those people who are really good from Burleson, they're really good from the sheriff's office or other agencies, be on one centralized team that you activate when there's been a murder. And they could go out and work that case seamlessly. And then also from the prosecutor standpoint, it makes it easier for us because you have one team you're working with. And then when it comes down to training and expectations from this trial, there's a lot of things we've learned about how to do murder investigations better. You can easily target your team and say, these are the steps we need to take for the next time. And so I think it's important because that's what Stop's been doing this whole time. Stop is always evolving, always keeping up with technology, always keeping up with what is the current method of advertisement for dope in Johnson County. How do we track it? The most sophisticated technology, like you said, the crime center. I would like to see a sister unit that may be attached to Stop or maybe separate that does the same thing, but for kid cases, sexual abuse cases, and for probably murder or serious aggravated assault cases.
I have a question. So,
Mhm.
whenever you were on before, I know that we briefly touched on the subject of domestic violence cases. And so I was curious what your next plan for those might be.
So the next plan for those are going to be, one is going to be training. One of the things I want to do with the DA's office, I want to just, we may not have a special unit for that because I hate to tell you, but domestic violence is so prolific
Sure.
in any county, and Johnson County is included. A lot of those cases start on the misdemeanor level. By the time it gets to the DA's office, something's happened. Either you've been previously convicted of domestic violence, or you've committed strangulation or something that gets it automatically to the felony level. That's going to be working with the county attorney and then the local agencies and trying to get training out there. A lot of this is having the officers understand, one, that the county attorney, district attorney are going to take these cases seriously. So there's not that, hey, no one's going to take this, so why work this case?
Right.
Because limited amount of resources. I mean, it would be hard to bang your head against the wall if you know nothing's going to happen as an
Right.
officer. So you incentivize and say, we are going to do something with those cases, but also there's a lot of training out there these officers need to be presented with, and the DA's office and the county attorney can be part of presenting those training to the individual agencies. So that'd be my big initial push for that, is just trying to get everybody on the same page that domestic violence happens in Johnson County, and it's not going to be tolerated on the prosecution level. It's also not going to be tolerated on the city level. Like Burleson has a zero tolerance policy. If there is domestic violence and you guys arrive on scene, somebody's going to jail, and that's a real big block. And I think that it's a good policy. There's a few exceptions that I would disagree on that policy, but generally it is, we're not going to sit here and say that, oh, it's okay and you guys are going to work it out. If you have someone that has physically assaulted someone else and someone felt the need to call 911 to bring a third party actor into that, something seriously is going wrong. And so Burleson addresses that by saying, we're not going to just come on scene and get it to calm down. So somebody's going to go to jail because a crime has been committed. And sometimes that cooling off period where somebody goes to jail and gives whoever the victim is, either the man or the woman, that chance for the headspace to go, this is something I don't need to be involved in anymore. I don't need to be in this cycle of violence.
Right.
And you see a lot of
Chance
people
to change the locks or whatever they need to do.
Or break contact, go to a shelter or something like that, get with a family member. Sometimes, and the literature shows that sometimes that's what the person needs the most, is that simple break of contact to get clarity and say, I have a chance to get away. I can't tell you how many cases it is people calling before something happens, said, I'm afraid domestic violence is going to happen tonight. Can you help me get out? And they can't do that. Police aren't in, they can't do civil exchanges. But when someone does get arrested, the ability to say, okay, this is my chance to leave and move on, I think that's very beneficial. And Burleson's also good about giving resources. Burleson gives resources to people in the situations. They get a protective order that prevents the person from contact in the future. And they also provide resources for the Women's Crisis Center and stuff like that. So, there's options out there, because that's the biggest thing you feel. One, If you're in that,
you'd feel trapped.
You feel trapped. You feel worthless. Maybe you deserve it. And if you get out of that headspace and go, I have options, I think there could be a better outcome.
I 100% agree with that. That's amazing.
Okay, you were a defense attorney.
I was for 2 years, or about 2 years. Yeah.
Do you ever have to defend
family violence? Oh yeah, I remember.
And the kids.
The kid case, I never did a sexual abuse of a child case. Most of the stuff I did was DWI and driving while intoxicated or impaired, some family violence. I remember the last client I had, he had 3 cases in 3 counties for domestic violence. And I remember his question to me. He's like, so I've been told by my friends that if my girlfriend doesn't show up to trial, they can't prosecute me. Is that true? And I was just sitting there like, this is the worst scenario for an ethical attorney, because you're like, that is somewhat true, right? But then you're asking me, can I tamper and intimidate a witness to keep them from showing up? And I was like, my answer to that is, you don't need to contact her. You've got a protective order. Whether that's true or not is not part of our legal strategy. Don't talk to her, because you can catch a separate charge. You can catch a felony over that. But yeah, I mean, there's stuff out there like that it makes defense hard. So I do definitely respect those defense attorneys out there who do their job ethically and say, hey, like, there's certain guardrails of things like I can't help you commit a crime.
Yeah.
that gives me to sit there and have to defend somebody that you know is guilty. You know, that's tough. And I know your ethics. I know that had to kind of, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely hard. So you don't always know your client's guilty. Sometimes they do tell you. Sometimes they say straight up, this is what happened. Those are actually the easier clients to work with, because the worst clients are the ones that don't tell you. Because I mean, you tell me you're guilty.
You get blindsided.
You get in trial and you're fighting this thing, and then the evidence, you didn't realize how it lined up, whatever. And you go, if we had just known that was going to be a factor there, we could have addressed it differently, or we could have done a plea negotiation or something, right? But yeah, when someone does tell you, it makes it a little harder sometimes, but it also makes the case better for them, honestly, because I can't tell anybody that I know that. But you can say, hey, look, based on these factors and these things we know, this is the outcome. This is the best outcome we can have. It could be trial, or it could be a plea negotiation. But if you don't tell your attorney, it's like even the civil, right? You can't hide things when you hire a civil attorney and then you get in the middle of discovery and they're like, you didn't tell me the whole story. And we've been negotiating this way the whole way.
Right.
You've really put us in a bad position.
So you're up there questioning this guy. Have you ever been lost for words because of something you find out while you're up there?
I'm trying to think. Nothing comes off the top of my head. A lot of this happens is it's not during trial. It's usually just a meeting within the office that we're talking through things. And it's human nature with clients. It's with anybody, right? We want to put our best foot forward when we meet somebody. And the first thing to do is to break down with the client when you're doing defense is, this is not about impressing me, because you're here because something bad has happened. Either it's misunderstanding, that's the bad part, or it's something you did. But we need to figure out which one of those things it is, so we can figure out how to address it.
My mom always said, you never lie to 3 people. your tax person, your doctor, and your attorney. You never lie to those 3 people.
That's good advice.
And that's,
for your mama.
Well, mama don't know. Sometimes mama doesn't need to know.
So you're saying everything you tried to hide for your mama, she never found out. You know better than that.
I mean, I'm just saying, I was a good girl though. So
I was a good kid too, but there was things.
But there's a lot of things that
the worst thing about it is thinking that your mama, she might know.
If they weren't pertinent,
and the worst thing to hear from
know.
Your mama, wait till your daddy gets home.
Oh yes.
So yeah, they know more than we think.
A lot of times in cases like that, so I think a lot of times people forget certain things are pertinent to a conversation, to their case at hand, and they're like, they didn't even think about it till like right before you go to court, or you hear, oh, they've got this on their witness list, and you're like, I didn't even think about that person. Okay, that's why they might have brought them in,
Oh yeah. So even on the prosecution side, when you meet with the witness, and it'd be the same thing for you in defense, you got to go. Social media is so much ingrained in all of our lives.
Yes.
And it's funny though, because our brains kind of don't really relate to what we do in social media to real life. So a lot of times we're talking to witness, we're like, have you had any contact with so-and-so? No. And they go, have you talked to them on Facebook? Yeah. that's contact, right?
Yeah.
Had the same thing with bond violations. People who have EPOs, they aren't allowed to contact a certain witness or a certain victim, and they blow them up on Facebook or whatever else. So when you meet with the witness, you go through all this list of what have you posted on Facebook recently? Where are your social media websites? Because then you find there's a ton of stuff that's been put on
It's
there.
amazing what they'll put on. It's amazing what people share in public like that.
We don't need the Fourth Amendment anymore. Because it's funny, our founding fathers are like, we're so concerned about privacy. And then social media came along and people are like, I'm just going to share my entire life, including
Everything, good and bad.
Good and bad. It's just out there for anybody to read. And it's shocking because that's all public information. I haven't had social media until the campaign for that. I'm a very kind of private individual, but I've been surprised by kind of delving deeper into the social media world and what people will share and just put out there. It's out there forever. You delete it, take it off. It doesn't change a thing. It's always there.
So like I pretty much anything I put on my Facebook page is public because I'm like, it just takes one screenshot and anybody in the world can have it. So it doesn't matter to me. I'm like, if I'm going to put it out there, I'm going to accept that anybody can see it.
Oh yeah.
So, that's just the way that is. I'm pretty transparent.
It's amazing how many people are caught. They've done something. They go brag about it on Facebook.
Oh, we've had a lot of cases of people posting up after a robbery with their guns and the money. And you're like, it's basically a confession to what they just did. They're like, I didn't think that was going to be connected. And I'm like, well, hate to warn you, but police are not that dumb.
Right. Right.
They literally have softwares that'll go scan this stuff.
They do. Exactly.
It's amazing. So, yeah. This has been a great deal. You got anything you want to add? You have anything you want to?
What are you excited about
Yeah.
coming up with your new role? Or
I mean, I'm excited about all the changes. I'm particularly excited. One of the shifts I think you're going to see is that I want the DA's office to be more transparent with the public. Not that it hasn't been so much in the past. It just needs to be more forward facing. I want to do more shows like this with you, shows like with Greg Cooper. I think you should see your elected officials out there more. I'm very big on local government. And I think the biggest thing we've lost since the newspaper has started to die is that we're all elevated at the federal level. And everybody just, there's a political junkies that just eat that up.
Right.
But when you get down to the local level, where it your school board,
it directly affects you and your children.
Yeah, your city council. Like these are the things that we should really get whipped up, in my opinion, about, because the federal level, most of that stuff's not going to affect you on a daily basis. I promise you, your city council, if you got kids, your school board, that's going to affect you on a daily basis more than you're going to ever know. So I think that's something that people should be more involved in. I think also in the DA's office. I also want to know what people care about out in the community, whether it's Burleson or Venus or Joshua. What is it that they are concerned about? Is it drugs in their school? Is it porch piracy? People stealing packages off the porch? What is it? I think we need to be addressing the issues the community has, because it really needs to be a service related job. Whatever people are, what's keeping them up at night? What is their fears? What is making you feel unsafe? I think the DA's office needs to know more. But I also want to meet more with mayors and see what cities need. I think there needs to be more cross-pollination between talking to the mayors, the chiefs of police. Also, I want to go down to just the patrol level when it comes to the patrol units, because I want to know the officers and where can we help them do better? Where has there been confusion about what's supposed to happen? So I want to see a lot more of that. So I'm doing shows like this. I'm helping teach a police citizens academy tonight. Things like that. I think I just want to see the office more involved with the community so that we're more accessible, and that would be get the feedback from the community, and we can also help educate the community. Because going back to the defund the police movement we saw, particularly in 2020, good, bad, or indifferent, whether it was the officer's fault, the public's fault, whatever, the biggest thing was perception. And I think unless we are actually expressing, like, if it's failure of officers, we need to get more funding for them to get the abilities and skills they need to do what they need to do. If it's the public, because we're basing our perception of officers off of a TV show we watched, then helping them understand. That's why the Citizens Police Academy, I think, is a pretty cool concept of understanding what the police actually go through on a regular basis. So you go, okay, this is not like the TV shows.
I love it.
That's great. Have you ever done a ride along?
I've done a bunch of ride-alongs. I think everybody should do that, because one, you get to see what they do on a daily basis, and it is a hard job. I just get to sit there and watch somebody do something, but like Burleson 12-hour shifts. Those guys and girls work really hard.
We could keep talking. This is one of the few times that I could just keep on talking on this.
That's fantastic.
We got 9 seconds. Tim, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Tim Davis, thanks for sponsoring us at Alpha Omega. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time on the County Pulse.
Yeah, nowhere but Texas.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
School choice. Sweet sounding words from sweet sounding groups like the American Federation for Children.